Welcome to Trivial Debates. I'm your host, Jeff Mader. We have a great show for you today here, February 28th, 2021. We are breaking down all the arbitrary arguments of different categories: movies, TV, sports, music, history, wild card things. We got it all here on Trivial Debates, but we also have three wonderful contestants today. We have our first-time Trivial Debater, Jessica Chan. We'll bring her on in. Hi. Jessica. She's from our Star Trek Radio Theater clan. We also have a former champion here, Jaemeel Robinson. Bring him on in with a nice little bow and a nice little salute to the host that knows the most. Okay. And we also have, I think he's a former champion. I'm not sure. Nobody really knows. Chris Seymour, we'll bring him on in.
Yes, I was a champion once.
Oh, you were? Oh, okay. I don't know if I've ever been on a show where you were the champion.
No, you weren't there.
That fact will remain the same.
That might change today, though. Okay, so we also have a producer behind the scenes. We have Dave Mader. Say hello, Dave.
Hello, I'm here.
He's here. Okay, he's breaking down things. He's putting graphics up. He's here as a second sober thought if he's needed. Okay, so we're just going to break down into how this works. Basically, I ask a question. The three contestants come back with some sort of saucy answer, and then I say, okay, well, then argue for your saucy answer. And then they come back and they argue, and then I either say, that was pretty good, or come back next time, try again. And I pick one person's answer to move on to win the point for the round. We have 6 rounds here. So without further ado, we'll start with our first round, movies. And the question is, what movie won Best Picture that did not deserve to? And if possible, please pick the movie that should have won instead of the movie that did win. Since we'll start with Jessica Chan, since she's the first one on the left, but we will rotate as a snake going forward.
No.
How much time does she have, Dave?
She gets 90 seconds, but she doesn't have to use all of it if she doesn't need it. So
that's right. You can say, hey, I'm tapping out.
All right.
I've made my point.
When you start talking, Jessica, your time will start.
Okay, so this is the answer. This is the question that I had an immediate answer to, which is 2006 film Crash by Paul Haggis, written and directed by him. It's supposed to be a modern look into race relations in LA. It is just terrible. It's a terrible film. It's like follows different people throughout the city of LA as their lives intermix. It's like a really terrible racial version of Love Actually. It doesn't really do anything in terms of exploring race, except there's just people throwing racial slurs at one another here and there, and kind of makes it seem like racism is something that everyone shares, kind of like the Avenue Q's everyone's a little bit racist, but like not funny or good at all. And the scene that really stands out for me, I don't remember this movie. I don't even know why I watched it like 15 years ago. But so earlier on in the movie, Tandy Newton's character is in the car with her husband, and they get pulled over by 2 white cops, one of whom is a douchebag played by Matt Dillon, and he like molests her in front of her husband and then lets her go off with a warning, whatever. It's a horrible scene. And then later on in the film, she gets into a car crash, and then he pulls her out of the car before it explodes, and they share this like meaningful look like, oh, look, isn't that great? Like racism solved. No, it's terrible. He's a bad cop. Like that doesn't say anything about anything. This is the level of nuance this film has about race. It's just garbage. It's a garbage film.
Okay, Jessica, your time is up, but I just want to go through the other 4 movies that were nominated that year for Best Picture, and I would like to know which movie you think deserved to win. So Brokeback Mountain was nominated, Capote, Good Night and Good Luck, and Munich.
It's got to be Brokeback Mountain. It's got to be Brokeback. And in fact, they re-voted on this in 2015, asked Academy members, and they all voted for Brokeback Mountain. So,
okay, great. Jaemeel, what you got? You coming in with the hot fire? Let's go.
I'm hot fire. The movie I have chosen, I didn't choose it. it chose me because it stood out among all the rest, and that is Million Dollar Baby. Million Dollar Baby is a mediocre Rocky film that has a twist in the latter part of the story that is there to fuel the director's agenda against an organization. The movie doesn't really stand on in terms of performances, writing, or even directing. It is one that is its merits are based upon its strong marketing push, its generic attitude to connections to past films, and it doesn't really do anything that stands out particularly well. So when it is time to argue, I will lay down the facts, not opinions, right? There's a difference between facts and opinions. An opinion is a movie is bad, right? Opinion is a movie is bad, but facts are this is the reason why this film does not deserve the recognition that it currently has.
Okay, so in that year, which was the year before Crash, 2005, guys. So not a good time for movies. Million Dollar Baby beat 4 other movies because back then we only have 5 movies nominated. The Aviator was nominated, Finding Neverland, Ray, and Sideways.
So 2 of the movies that should have won were not even nominated for Best Picture, and they were Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Closer. Which if it had been a 10 nominee Best Picture like it is today, or like sometimes they do 7 or 8 now, those movies would have been there. Million Dollar Baby won also Best Directing, Best Lead Actress, Best Supporting Actor. It won a lot. So and it was like I agree with you. It's not a very rewatchable movie. Okay, Chris, what did you pick?
Okay, so for my pick, we're going to go back to 1999 and go for Shakespeare in Love. Personally, I didn't enjoy this movie. It's a romance movie. It's loosely based on Shakespeare. I mean, it's not based on real facts. This movie was completely fictional. I don't know why they decided to make it on a real person. I guess because the basis of the story was Shakespeare couldn't write a play because he wasn't in. He didn't feel a connection with someone. Then he meets a woman and falls in love, and all of a sudden he's able to write a great play, which she stars in. She has to dress up as a man because in that time, man couldn't be on stage. Women couldn't be on stage. I just wanted to go to the movie that before you asked, Jeff, because I looked this up ahead of time. What should have won that year was a blockbuster of a movie, Saving Private Ryan. Everybody knows Saving Private Ryan. We all remember it. It was such an epic war movie, and the fact that Shakespeare in Love won that year is horrible. It's just a debauchery to the system.
Okay.
I just want to say nobody gets a better view than me watching Jameel's facial expressions as Chris gives his argument. So
what?
Okay, so as we did with the other 2 years, so 1999, Shakespeare in Love won. This is the first movie, and I wish you had said it, Chris, that Harvey Weinstein basically.
This is arguments for him.
This is for later, Jeff.
Okay, I'm just saying this is because I'm just looking I looked at the other movies who was the main producer, but I do remember with this movie that Harvey Weinstein, this is the first movie that he made sure won Best Picture.
Yes, and that was going to be part of my later argument.
Yes. Okay. So that year, I also would argue that there were movies that were not nominated for Best Picture that should have been nominated for Best Picture. So these are the movies that were nominated: Elizabeth, Life is Beautiful, Saving Private Ryan, and The Thin Red Line. First of all, The Thin Red Line should never have been in there. And Elizabeth should never have been in there. The movies that probably should have been there were The Truman Show and American History X. Those movies definitely should have been nominated for Best Picture, but they weren't because they were too controversial. And this is when the Oscars changed to in 5 years we get Jaemeel and Jessica's movies where it's all about racism or it's all about a female boxer that gets not it's just like they really heard the backlash, I think. with those type of things. And so you guys can argue amongst yourselves now. Why did your movie not deserve to win more than the other ones? Jessica, we'll start with you.
Well, I would argue mine is less deserving. Like even so Jameel's movie, $1 Million Baby, is actually written by the same guy who wrote Crash, is Paul Haggis. So I would argue that mine is even less deserving because he was coasting off his win from $1 Million Baby. And like, at least $1 Million Baby was a cohesive film. You follow one storyline throughout. This Crash was like you follow multiple characters throughout, and he even tried to do the kind of like timeline thing where the events that we're watching are actually not in temporal order. So like the beginning of the film is actually the end of the film. But why?
He's trying to Pulp Fiction it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a story you care about. It's
right.
It's so bad. It's
but also, why is $1 Million Baby and Shakespeare in Love like a little bit more deserving than your movie?
Shakespeare in Love is a watchable movie. I like it. I mean, I don't think that it being a romance puts any knocks against it. I enjoy romances. And like, if to argue that you can't make a movie about a real person into a fictional universe is arguing against Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which I do not agree with at all. Yeah, exactly. So no, I don't agree with that. And they say a racial movie written by a white man talking about racism in America who doesn't understand what systemic racism is, obviously, because the entire plot of the film, they have, a Hispanic person or a Middle Eastern person is racist towards Hispanic people and a black guy is racist against Asians. It's putting the burden on everybody, but that's not what racism is in America. There is one person
from London, Ontario.
Yeah, well, yeah, great. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like racism, the burden doesn't fall on everyone. It revolves. Burden falls on people of color. So people can be prejudiced if you're a person of color, but that's not systemic racism, and that's the point. That its entire movie, the movie just misses the point. It's ridiculous. It's really just terrible.
Okay, so go. I know you got hot take.
Regarding Shakespeare in Love, Chris is probably going to be talking about Harvey Weinstein and his strong arming voters to vote for the movie.
Of course,
that's been a part of the Oscars since the very beginning, since even before with Dances with Wolves and with Driving Miss Daisy. It has been a part of the Oscars history altogether. So there is a wide variety of films that have had that same similar issue.
Dances of Wolves was worthy of winning that year, though.
No,
it was
Goodfellas against Goodfellas.
Chris, don't say that. Don't say that. Right? You'll reply in a bit. Okay, so that has nothing to do with it. Right. The movie is a pretty good film that got pushed over the top, just like any other film. It's just that Miramax, a smaller company, was able to have that power to get it, right? So they collectively got that power. So that argument, no. Okay. Now, regarding Crash itself, it is, I think, something that people have as the zeitgeist is to be negative towards it, just like Titanic. The movie is an okay film, not a great film, but there are a lot of okay films that have won Oscars. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are not deserving. Okay. In terms of its racial deconstruction, I disagree that although at some points of the film it is kind of deaf to what is going on, it's still a compelling story that I think people overlook. And even though the characters do bad things, we should not criticize it because of that's the story that the director wants to tell. Okay. Concerning my film, you have Clint Eastwood, who purposely, if you haven't seen $1 Million Baby, the main character becomes a quadriplegic, basically has to be euthanized without any discussions or any talk of getting counseling or any type of assistance whatsoever. Now, what does that tie in with the director's opinions about things? The director has lobbied against disability organizations because he felt that they're overreaching in terms of their policies, because he owns a hotel and he's got dinged a bunch of times because he hit various violations, right? This is blatant use of his platform to push an agenda, right? Yeah. That film should not be recognized, does not deserve to win.
At the time, I believe Clint Eastwood was mayor of the city of Carmel in California, so he was like holding public office as well. So, yeah. Okay, Chris. All right.
Okay. Finally, of course I'm going to use the words that Harvey Weinstein fully bullied for his movie to win. He Jaemeel. That is the reason that this movie never have won. Harvey Weinstein used his influence over the Oscar people to get that movie.
Right. Chris, just to stop you for 1 sec. This is the first movie he did that with. He went and did that on other movies too.
He did that on other movies, but Shakespeare in Love brought in $289 million at the box office.
Right.
Compared to $482 million by Saving Private Ryan.
Is Shakespeare in Love the lowest grossing Oscar winner of all time?
Well, you know what? You'd have to do numbers by years. It's worth a little bit more now. It's probably not. I'm just saying it wasn't the highest grossing film that year. And as for Crash, I think it won. You know what? A lot of it's in bad taste, but it was meant to have some shock value to it. And that's what drew a lot of people to it, and that's probably what made it win. And honestly, $1 Million Baby I've never seen, but it doesn't sound like good.
Thank you for your.
It's not. None of these movies I would say are rewatchable movies. As to be like this question, you could have went different ways too. Like Jaemeel brought up great different years where he brought up Driving Miss Daisy, Dancing with Wolves. You could have said no, Goodfellas deserved to win that year. In two good movies, all of you went to the extreme of the worst movie that won, which is, I get it. I understand why you did that, but I was hoping one person would come out of left field and be like, no, that good movie didn't deserve to win over this. I
disagree because I feel that if you take any of the movies from my year and put them in any other year, they would win. Sideways would win Best Picture.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's a good movie.
Good movie, for sure.
Sideways isn't like a grand, amazing film. It's just in comparison, it is like a tier above.
Right.
I would say for my year, Brokeback Mountain was obviously the winner. Should have been the winner. I think at the time people just weren't ready for a movie about gay cowboys. They're actually shepherds, but whatever. But any of the other films that year, I mean, Capote, that was an excellent performance by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Munich, Good Night and Good Luck. Like those were all good films too, I think.
Yep. Yep.
So,
and Katie CV is bringing up some good points that, another year would have been 1994, where you also have Forrest Gump winning over Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction. So both of those movies could have won Best Picture over Forrest Gump.
I don't hate on Forrest Gump, but I do. I had no idea it went up against Shawshank, and that is far superior of a movie. I still like Forrest Gump. I would watch Forrest Gump.
I disagree. I think it's a Sophie's choice. All three of those films are great.
Yeah.
They should have had a three-way tie.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah, three-way tie for sure. Okay, so I think as everyone kind of made their points, I think we're kind of good here. I just forget, Jaemeel, what movie did you say should have won in your year?
Closer.
So we have Brokeback Mountain, Closer, and Saving Private Ryan. Okay. All right, I'm going to make my decision. I think the person that argued the best for their movie and why they really didn't like it was Jessica. So I'm going to give that point over to Jessica for this one. Why it didn't deserve to win. I also think Brokeback Mountain, probably did deserve to win that year. The other ones, I think Saving Private Ryan, I could have seen, like I said, American History X winning that year. I also could have seen The Truman Show winning that year. And $1 Million, that year that Jaemeel picked is such a bad year. Like all the movies that came out for the most part that year were just kind of meh.
Sideways, Aviator.
Yeah,
Aviator was great. I love Aviator.
It's a good movie.
Spotless, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
That's a great movie. That probably should have won, but it wasn't nominated.
I've never seen Closer, and I've
never seen Closer.
People watch Closer based on the play.
Chris's year is probably the best year in film.
Not ever. Just
one of them. It's one of them. Just the amount of movies that came out that year was insane. Okay, so we'll move over to the TV round. Let's go with a 1-0 lead, but we will see here, because I think we're going to get some curveballs thrown. What TV show had the best final season start to finish? So what was like what TV show had the final season where the first episode was as good as the last episode? Okay, we're going to start with Jaemeel this time.
I debated a ton of shows to pick for this category, but really it isn't recency bias. I think this season is actually substantially really good, and people need to go back and really take advantage of what was put on film, and that is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., its final season. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Put together a story where they tied every single season that previously occurred, and also did like a mystery, like a tour of each of those seasons, and the high points of each of those seasons were referenced and were involved in the plot, weaving a wonderful story where you're able to remember what has happened, but still appreciate of how far the characters have come, culminating into a finale that is possibly some of the best Marvel television that has been produced. And I think the closest that have come close to it is what we've recently seen with WandaVision, in terms of its ability to bring high concepts, but with a lot of emotional stakes. And the performances were great, and I think that it did a lot of heavy lifting in terms of having a series that was interconnected and still able to connect it to the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay. Chris, what do you got?
So I went with a more obvious choice, I guess. I'm going to go with the final season of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And well, I don't know. Breaking Bad, its fifth and final season was either 16 episodes long, or it was 8 episodes long, depending on how you look at it, because they kind of split that season up. But you know what? The character development throughout the whole series was amazing. But I think towards the end, you got to know the characters a little bit more personally. You got to understand guys like Walt by that season. You could actually feel in his acting by Bryan Cranston. You could actually feel like his love for his family, but you could also feel that his consciousness, or his consciousness was kind of going away. He didn't care about anyone anymore except for his family, and maybe a little bit of Jesse. Jesse was also the same way. You know what? It was one of those shows where every episode had a different twist and turn. You never knew what was going to happen next. So every episode was exciting to watch. In the end, spoilers here. I guess we all know Walt's demise, but it perfectly set up the next show, El Camino. Perfectly set up, so we can find out what happens to Jesse now.
Okay, Jessica, what do you got?
I was a spoiler. I'd never seen it.
I chose The Good Place, season 4, their last season. This show, to me, like from beginning to end, even from season 1 to season 4, was just really great. It never lingered too long on any particular storyline or drew something out just to have filler episodes. It was always marching forward, always advancing the plot. You always got to know the characters better, and they kept that up in season 4, the last season. Like, they stayed with the characters. They still had some growth within the last season. They advanced the plot like very steadily. It moved forward, and when it came to an end, it was just a really satisfying conclusion. It was a great send-off for everybody. I cried. I thought about it for a long time. I rewatched it again. It was the most satisfying experience I've had watching a TV show for years. Maybe that's because I don't know. I have bad luck with shows. I find to tend to be really disappointed with how they ended usually. But this one, I was just satisfied from season 1 to season 4 to the last episode. It was great. All the characters were fantastic. The comedy is great. And it had a really good message, I think, about life and why, how life is short. And that's why it's good, because it ends, things end, and you should enjoy things while they last.
I have heard that The Good Place had a fantastic final season. I've never watched a show. Amanda watches it. I'm I'm not a. I know it's really good, but I've never watched it. But I always hear on the radio, oh, the best final season. They always say the last 2 seasons of The Good Place, right? The third season too is also really fantastic.
They're all good. I enjoyed. There was never like a lull in that show that I didn't enjoy, but it's very hard to discuss because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Right,
it's really good.
Hey, Chris is spoiling Breaking Bad, so I think it's fair game.
Please don't spoil Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for me, Jaemeel. I haven't watched it yet.
You're cutting the legs from underneath me. I'll do my best.
I'm just gonna plug my ears.
Yeah, she's not gonna rebut any of my
yeah, I'm just gonna take off my headphones now.
Concerning Breaking Bad, yes, it is known for having a really good final season, but people more refer to it being a really good final season as the latter part of the season. There were a lot of issues in terms of the pacing of the beginning of the season. Granite State, I believe, is the episode that people have a lot of issues with. Even though there's a lot of plot that is detailed in that episode, there are some inconsistencies in how the pacing goes in comparison to the other ones. It seems like a stopgap between other episodes, whereas with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., in the vaguest of terms, is each episode more or less hits an area of 2 episodes are dedicated to the season. And with each and every single character, they have their moment to shine, so that when they all are together in the finale, you get to see where the entire cast was to where they are right now. Concerning The Good Place, Good Place has a really good final season, but there are a lot of issues in terms of some of the episodes prior to the finale, where it seems like they are stretching out time. So, for example, I believe it's called The Message, where it's the episode dealing with Sheedy's message to Eleanor, or to himself about Eleanor. The previous episode leading up to that, which was the funeral episode, seemed especially long in the tooth, and took the jokes a little bit too far. It was an uneven episode in a season that had a very consistent upward trajectory in quality. It just had that misstep just before going up.
Well, I've never seen your guys' show, so I'm.
Which is your fault.
Well,
I took the time to do research on shows that I've never seen. I've never seen Breaking Bad, but I was able to speak to it.
You've never seen it?
I've only seen up to the first season of Breaking Bad, and I got bored, so I decided to move on.
Well, Breaking Bad
is a lot more exciting, and I just wanted to say the final episodes for it, like the viewership started going up as the final season it got into it more and more. Like the last 4 episodes, it was at like 5.9 million views, then up to 6.4. The final episode had 10.3 million viewers.
So what you're telling me is that people started to watch more once it started getting better in the latter part of the season.
I was gonna say,
last episodes is where the increase in terms of people watching it.
I think what happens is because this show was on AMC, they didn't want to wait for the reruns. People were so excited to watch this show the day it came out that they had themselves glued to the TV. You know what? People were like, they were charging $400,000 for a 30-second commercial spot on the final episode.
So what you're telling me is the previous episodes they were willing to wait for the reruns, but the latter 4 they want to see live.
Yeah, increasing viewership just means people skipped the first part of the season. Arguing numbers, that's like saying the Game of Thrones season finale was good because it had a high viewership. It was garbage.
There was too many spoilers online for Breaking Bad that you just couldn't wait.
Okay, Chris.
Because everyone was so excited.
Chris, what was the best episode in the first 5 episodes of the final season of your show? Like what? And you don't have to name like this name of this episode. You don't remember what was good at the beginning of season 5 of Breaking Bad?
The episode where I guess he breaks down, and this is where I think he starts losing consciousness. He doesn't want to get caught by Hank, and he goes to the desert and he buries all of his money. I love that episode.
I believe that's the first episode of season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Or the 8th.
Do you remember the episode where they are robbing the train?
Well, I haven't watched this in like 7 years now.
That memorable. I got you.
It's so memorable.
Okay.
Are
we good here, guys?
I can't really argue against Jaemeel. I haven't watched the last season. I do want to. I think it's a good show. I stopped when whatever happened to Coulson Prime, and then I didn't watch after that. But
I have not spoiled it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You should get the point just for that. I appreciate it.
I have a member conceding.
He probably comes back as some sort of a clone or something. Okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna give this point to Jaemeel, because he just because his pick was so ballsy, and he argued for something that none of you came at him. Really, why?
Dude,
why,
Ozymandias was in the latter part of Breaking Bad. That's considered the best episode of Breaking Bad. More argument made no sense, dude.
I have a soft spot for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. People crap on that show. It had a rough start, but I thought it was much better than people give it credit for, so I can't really go at it too hard. I think it's a good show.
Never
just get an extra point for arguing against Breaking Bad and The Good Place.
Well, I think you get the point also because you had to argue without spoiling it for me, which I really appreciate.
Yes, and nobody came and said Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sucked.
They could have just flat out said that.
No, it's a good show. It's a good show. It really, I think people should watch it.
You don't have to agree, right? You don't have to agree. I disagree with what I said about The Good Place. The Good Place is great. It's a great final season.
No, but you're right. That episode was a bit of a filler episode. You're right. I forgot that was a bit of a filler episode.
Sorry, Jeff. Continue.
That's okay. No. Okay, what are we on to now? Music?
Music, yeah.
Music. Okay, we're going to the music round. This is where Chris always wins, so he's got...
I'm going to murder Chris.
If the pandemic...
You're just mad about the Prince thing.
Oh, yeah.
If the pandemic ended tomorrow, what would be the best concert to go see in 2021? And Chris, this is your round, so you get to start first.
Well, this is kind of a personal question. I think it applies directly to me. And best concert that I would go to see in 2021 is going to be Primus. And there's a specific reason for this. Not just because I love the band. I think they're talented. Back in... March of 2020, they were actually going to launch a tour. It was going to be Primus, A Farewell to Kings. And what this tour was going to be was a tribute to Rush, because it was shortly after Neil Peart died. Primus and Rush, Les Claypool from Primus and Geddy Lee from Rush were very good friends. Obviously, both bass players, they toured a lot together. And Les Claypool actually got permission to do an entire tour based on the Rush album, Tribute to Kings. This tour was supposed to be coming around April or March to Toronto 2020. And I would have bought tickets to that in a heartbeat. I would have gone by myself if no friends wanted to come with me because I'm the only Primus fan. I wouldn't have cared. I'd have wanted to go see that show that bad just because it's the only time I'm going to see Primus playing from start to finish an entire Rush album.
Okay, that's great. And you're right on time. We move over to Jessica. What would be the best concert to go see in 2021 if the pandemic ended tomorrow?
I made an odd choice. I decided to go with a global perspective rather than a personal one because I thought about what I personally like, and it's not probably to everyone's taste. I thought, I would love to see the Walk Off the Earth Canadian band. They're really good. They always put on a good show.
Well, if Dave was judging, you would be number one.
They're excellent. I love them, but I thought I don't know if anyone would agree with me. So I went with a global perspective, which is BTS. They are like the band of the moment, the K-pop. Everybody loves them. I feel like this concert would give you the energy of Beatles coming to America for their first time. These K-pop bands have been in quarantine, going after white supremacist hashtags and ruining Donald Trump rallies for a year. They're ready to party. They're ready to go. I think K-pop stars always put on a good show. They know the value of putting on a good costumes, good sets, good acts, and I think it would be a good show in itself. But I feel like the crowd energy of all of these K-pop stands, I guess they're called, would be just insane and off the charts. And you probably end the concert with some hearing damage and maybe some injuries from being trampled by teenage girls. And what more could you ask for in a concert?
Okay. Jaemeel, what more could you ask for in a concert?
Well, very interesting thing about my pick. My pick is a Rush concert. Neil Peart passed away prior to the pandemic, and there wasn't really an opportunity for Rush to kind of pay tribute to the drummer that is so responsible for their sound. So at the same time, this concert will also be a tribute to him and his life, and also to raise money towards the brain cancer that Neil was dealing with. Obviously, you cannot replace Neil, but you would use one of Neil's favorite drummers, and a variety of drummers that can fill in for him when they're performing. One of Neil's favorite drummers is Terry Bozzio, who is still active. So this would be a great one. They can do it in Toronto, where they're based off of from. At this time, the border is open, so all the Rush fans from the U.S. would also be able to move up. You would have such famous Rush fans as like Paul Rudd to appear again, who also appeared in various tours and music videos for Rush as well.
And who would play drums? Who would play drums in that tour?
I said Terry Bozzio.
Terry Bozzio.
Terry Bozzio. Yep. And you know what? Let's Primus could open. Where they can perform some classic Rush things. Looks like they're already paying tribute to Rush, so they can jump on board.
Primus has already decided to do this. They've already got Rush's permission. To go against your point, Jaemeel, I don't want to see Rush without Neil Peart there. I understand that there are some drummers that could fill his shoes. They can play as not exactly like him. Like, I mean, he was one of the greatest drummers in the world, but they could fill in. But I don't want to see Rush knowing that Neil is not behind the kit. And Jessica, in your case, BTS, seeing screaming girls at a concert of K-pop, BTS. I don't even know these guys. I think I know what you're talking about.
Have you not heard of them? They're like a global phenomenon. They took over the Tonight Show for a week. Like, come on. These are
they like the Korean kids that dance and sing?
That's correct.
They're a boy band, yes.
Some of them rap.
Yeah.
They don't sing. Only one guy or two guys sing.
When I go to a concert, I want to see the performers playing their instruments. I don't want to see some guys dancing.
I disagree with your statement. They are using their instruments. They're using their voice.
And their bodies that they put on a dance performance. And I would argue that
that's all choreographed. It's not exciting.
What do you mean it's not exciting?
It's not
Dance
exciting
is
to
exciting.
you, right? And also concerning Rush and not wanting to pay you're there to pay tribute to Neil there. So it isn't a matter of that you're sad that you don't see him. You are sad, but you're also seeing his music being performed.
I'm seeing his work performed by a completely different band.
You're saying that, and you're arguing for a band that's performing someone else's album.
Yes,
we don't know what Michael was agreeing to.
It's only going to happen once. It's only going to happen one time.
He wholeheartedly agrees.
I've already planned on going to see it.
But just to argue,
I've already made up my mind. I'm going.
I would go see the Rush concert, and Jessica would go see BTS. So that argument means nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, I would just say I was just arguing Jameel's point, but I watched a memorial concert for Walk Off the Earth. They lost their beard guy, and it was beautiful, and it was touching, and it was a great show. So I mean, that doesn't lessen anything from a band. A band is more than just one person, and to put on a show.
There.
Yeah. Oh, you were there. Oh, I watched it live.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah.
It can be very moving.
Thank you.
Emotional.
I greatly appreciate that point in my favor.
You're
In
welcome.
the case of Rush, though, not only did Neil Peart drum for them, he wrote all the lyrics. It wouldn't feel right if he wasn't.
They're not making new songs.
I do find it
performing their previous songs.
I understand that they wouldn't. That's why I would rather see Primus do it. I'd rather see a complete tribute to Rush.
So instead of seeing the band who actually performed the song, you rather see a band that has nothing to do with it.
It's hardly a cover band when they've been friends for years and they got permission to do it.
If I perform your songs, I am doing a cover. Right?
A cover
and
band,
I'm a cover band.
What does it say about the
Primus
band?
going to be performing any of their own songs during this tour?
No, and I
cover band.
What?
Right?
I don't know. They might surprise me.
concerning BTS, right?
You don't need permission to cover someone else's songs in a concert. You can just do that, but he had respect and actually got the permission.
Okay, Chris, yes. Concerning BTS, I think that the concert would be something that would still be avoided because of the amount of bodies being in close proximity. Even though the pandemic is over, people will still be a little bit reluctant to the bodies clashing that close together. And I don't see how that can work in a BTS concert with screaming girls who will become irrational and out of their mind. They're like, it's over there.
I mean, this is a hypothetical where the pandemic is over. So I'm saying I ignore all of that because we're just a magical world where it's just disappeared. So
pandemic is over, but how society reacts in public is going to take a while to change.
The question is, if the pandemic ended tomorrow, so the pandemic's been going on, if everyone got vaccinated tomorrow, what would be the best concert to go see?
Yeah, the pandemic would be over because Primus would have a great mosh pit. It would be kind of the same thing as the Screaming Girls, except it would be like 40-year-old guys.
Thank you also for my point.
Right, and
I would just argue against the Rush one because only just from what happened with Tragically Hip, I find with something as emotional as that, as like a final tour, it ends up to be bought up by people who aren't really fans, but they just want to be part of the experience, which is what happened with Tragically Hip. And then, I mean, the energy is not as good because like the people there are just kind of there to say they're there, and they're not really like true fans of the band. They just
despite any issues concerning scalping, which is going to happen also to BTS as well, which is going to be a hot ticket as well.
These K-pop fans
still had a lot of emotionally charged thing. No one could deny watching any of those concerts that the people who were there were emotionally affected by the performances and the tributes that occurred.
Okay, real quick, I want you guys all to pick the venue that you would go see this band in. So, Chris, what venue would Primus be playing at where you would go see them? They
would be at the Cool House, downtown Toronto, because I have seen them there over 4 times already. It's an amazing venue, awesome sound. They sound amazing there.
Jaemeel, what would be the venue for the Rush? Would it be Scotiabank?
Ask me last, please.
Ask you last. All right, Jessica, where BTS? Where would you go see BTS?
Is this like local to Toronto?
You can go wherever. You want to go Madison Square Garden? You can go Madison Square Garden. I don't care.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that's my answer. Big stadium is what I was thinking. Large stadium, crazy, large amounts of people, huge energy. That's what I'm going for. The energy of the crowd, I think, is what would make this a very special concert.
BTS
for Square Garden too.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to give this point to Chris, and I know you guys are going to like this, but Chris had the most passion for his terrible concept. I mean, he wanted to go see a band that's not even playing their own music.
It's not even a concert. It really didn't happen.
And he had
I hate Rush, and I think that made up for my passion that I would talk so warmly about a band like Rush.
I love how he just emphatically said, no, they're not going to play their own music. They're going to play Rush, and I would want them to play any other music.
But I don't want to see Rush because they're imposters with their drummer that's not there anymore playing their own music.
Oh, that's great. Okay, moving on. So we got sports. Is it history? I always forget. Sports. Which team has the worst reverse retro? I think is actually what it's supposed to be. NHL jersey. So you guys probably had to go look
to pull up the jerseys because
I have it available, so we can show the visuals.
So we can show the visual. Okay, so Jessica,
just
you get to go
Chris
again.
Might not know, and he's like, I can't argue it. I don't know it.
I like Ashley's comment.
Ashley Millard says that's the best way to see Primus, not doing their own music.
You guys wait. I'm going to invite you all.
Is that a threat?
Who's first this round?
Jessica, you are going first with the worst reverse retro. Dave will probably pull up the jersey.
I will, yes.
Okay. What was your choice?
My choice was the Detroit Red Wings.
I'm gonna stop your video for this round, Jeff, so we can have
that's fine.
Visual really easily. And
all right, there you go. That's fine. Just leave it like
that. Yeah. Sorry, so I chose the Detroit Red Wings right there. I'm not. I'm not a hockey fan. I don't really watch hockey. I kind of hear about it in passing, but I mean, even I know what the Detroit Red Wings jerseys look like. They're iconic, the red and white, mostly I know it because of Cameron from Ferris Bueller, but I mean, it's a really great jersey. You see it and you know what it is. And like, this is just such a terrible version of it. Like, why the gray stripes? It looks sad.
Looks like a practice jersey a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, I don't understand the color choice on the arms. And these are supposed to be fun. I can get from the rest of them, especially going from like Arizona's designs. These are supposed to be fun designs going back to the 90s or whatever, when the things were more colorful. And this is just, it's depressing. Like even as if I was a diehard fan of the Red Wings, I would not buy this. I would not want this in my closet. Like, I wouldn't want to, this wouldn't hype me up to go to a game and wear. Like, it's just awful. I don't know who designed it, but they weren't having fun with it. And I think it's definitely the worst of the bunch.
Okay. Who's next, Jeff?
Jaemeel.
My choice is the god-awful Anaheim Mighty Ducks, which, seemingly inspired by the 90s cartoon, decides to put one of the characters from the cartoon on the jersey, but with barely any type of backing or any type of presentation for you to be able to actually see what's on the jersey, right? You see a hockey stick and you see what looks to be possibly a bill. But other than that, the rest of the actual character is unviewable to anyone in the stands, watching on TV. It is an awful jersey. It actually, you might as well just have nothing in the middle. That's basically what the design is. Nothing in the middle.
It's what, Wild Wing or whatever his name is, jumping out of the water? That's also ice?
Makes no sense. It is a terrible jersey.
Okay. And then Chris would be next. And then Chris, what's your pick?
Okay, my pick was the Vegas Golden Knights. If we can bring that one up.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have to bring up with the gold helmets though?
With the cool helmets. Okay, this jersey's color scheme is horrible to start off. Let's go with some red, some gray, some gold, and some black. Like, what was anybody thinking when they designed this jersey? First of all, I think that logo on the front, it's like two swords going through a starburst. To be honest, like, if I was looking at this jersey, someone wearing it on the street, I wouldn't be like, hey, you're a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights. I'd just be like, oh, what fucking kind of hockey team is that? Like, at least most of the other retro jerseys, when I see them, I can be like, oh, that's the Detroit Red Wings. Or, oh, that's the Anaheim Ducks. Because the guy still, even the Ducks jersey, the guy still has his logo on his chest. But this Vegas, like, should a team that's only been in the NHL for 3 years even have a retro jersey? Color scheme is just horrible. I'd never buy this. I think that they actually just stole that logo from their shoulder patch and blew it up.
It is their shoulder patch logo.
They blew it up and made it god awful colors. So to me, it doesn't even scream Vegas. There's nothing about this jersey that tells me that's the Golden Knights. There's nothing that makes me want to buy this jersey or wear it.
Okay.
Okay. So they took their shoulder patch logo and put it in the front.
Yeah.
Their regular their regular shoulder logo that's on their regular uniform that is recognizable, and they put in the front, so you can see that if you're a fan, they have the shoulder patch logo on the front.
It's a horrible idea, though.
So it's still their logo.
How come they didn't put the helmet logo on their shoulders?
That's a design they made. That's a design they made. But regardless, you're already saying, I don't know what this logo comes from.
Oh, they did. They did put it on their shoulders.
They put the chest logo on their shoulders, which makes it look even more ridiculous because now you got gray on the shoulders.
But at least it's different and it's colorful. And like if I saw someone wearing that in the stands as a fan, like a sea of fans wearing that, I'd still be like, oh, look at the, team pride. It's good. It's colorful. It's different. And it's something a collector might want to have because, it's something that's different from their usual jerseys. And I would argue against Jaemeel that, okay, I also kind of had the same qualms about the jersey you chose, but then I looked into it and what the retro jersey was referencing, and it actually is really close to a 90s version of their jerseys, or an older version of their jerseys. So right. it does reference the past, and it's something I think like if you were a kid and you watched and you didn't have the money to buy that jersey, you'd want to own right now because like it's referencing something you remember from when you were younger.
I never said that it wasn't referencing the past or anything like that. I said that it's completely impractical and unviewable in the stands and on television where where all the people right now are watching, right? Whereas your Detroit jersey, the logo is the bread and butter of the Red Wings and is completely viewable. In the old time jerseys in the past, it was extremely simple and it just had the logo. Majority of their merchandise is just a logo on the shirts, just a logo on hats. That is Detroit Red Wings. The branding is that the bird wing.
But here's my argument. This whole thing is to just drum up money for the NHL. They obviously hurting with having no ticket sales, and they want people to buy jerseys that they don't have to get some money in. And nobody's going to buy this really boring version of a jersey, whereas a collector, I could see them buying. It might not look good on the ice, the Anaheim one, but people will want to own that. I would want to own that if I was a fan. Maybe I would even want to own the Golden Knight ones. It's colorful. It's fun. This is boring. It's a horrible shirt. No one would want to own this. If you had a choice between the classic Red Wings one the red and white, that's what you would buy. You wouldn't buy this. I don't think they're not going to make any money off of this one.
As a Detroit Red Wings fan, I would actually buy this.
I would totally buy that. That's a recognizable shirt. I look at that and that tells me that's Detroit Red Wings.
But it's not an improvement in any way or an interesting take.
I collect jerseys and I get all types of stupid jerseys. It doesn't matter as long as the logo of the team that I'm representing. Concerning the Golden Knights, those are the team colors, bro. It's the team colors, right?
It's bold. It's a bold shirt. It's
the team colors. The Golden Knight team colors are exactly that. But instead of the piping being red is being prominent. It's a reversible retro jersey. Reversible. That's the whole point.
It doesn't tell me anything about Golden Knights. I don't even think most fans know what their Golden Knights looks like.
Cross swords.
Yeah, I don't.
And the star, as in like a star of metal, because they're a knight.
It's a star burst. It's not even a nice looking star. It doesn't even have 5 tips. It's got 4.
Wait, okay, Chris, let me answer this question. Is there any medals that have 4 points?
I don't know. Am I a medal expert?
I think Medal of Honor, yeah. I do think
Chris,
certain
the
medals.
answer is yes. So it's metal with swords crossing it, right? So therefore, it is.
Isn't it? It's not. Isn't it just like the sparks from like the Lance's meeting? That's like the knights, like it's. Is it supposed to be a star?
Medal of Honor.
I don't even know what it is. So
the stars from the Vegas sign, like
nobody can figure this one out.
I don't know what any jerseys are. So me saying I have no idea what their logo is supposed to be does not argue much.
The logo, the logo of the Anaheim Ducks is so small on the drawn character that it's basically like just like a little blip, like a pin, the tip of a pin.
But they went all out. They designed something new. They went with something interesting. You might not like the original design, but it's something different, and it's something that references a retro jersey. Whereas, mine.
It's on their sign. Actually, quite smart. I never realized that.
Oh yeah, Las Vegas Star. Oh, see, that's even better. See, it's very clever now. Now it makes it even better.
The Anaheim one is incomplete because it's like, are you going to fill out the rest so that we can actually see it? It's like they started working on we got to send it to the press as soon as possible. It's like, don't worry, we'll make it a design choice.
It looks retro to me because it looks like a 90s cartoon, which it meets the criteria of retro to me.
The problem with Jameel's jersey is that it's a white jerseyed logo on a white jersey. So yeah, it's gonna look like shit when it comes to TV because it's white on white. Kind of like the Leafs had this white on white jersey for one of their outdoor games, and it was the same thing. It was like awful to look at on TV.
And
it's also awful to watch the Leafs in general too.
Well, that's not
this argues my point about the Detroit Red Wings one because it's also white and just it's boring. It's boring. It's a really boring jersey, and they didn't have fun with it.
There's two teams that didn't show up for the reverse retro party. It was the Detroit Red Wings and the New York Islanders. Both teams decided not to show up.
So regarding the Detroit Red Wings, their branding is that like the bird wing, right? So that's all they care about. That's it. Like,
but but you're not arguing against the gray stripes. Why the gray stripes? Why
the gray stripes is a reference to its earlier jerseys that did have gray stripes.
I looked up their retro jerseys and they were much better than this. It's supposed to be kind of referencing things, not replicating, and it's not a bad choice. I'm sure they had much better jerseys to go with.
You're probably absolutely correct. Their other retro jerseys are actually better, but this doesn't make it the worst.
Okay, definitely. I gotta say I'm between Jessica and Jaemeel on this one, and I'm gonna give them both a point. I think they both argued for theirs well. Chris, yours got knocked down, man. Like I even learned why the star is that part of their logo. And
well, I just learned that right now too. I never did.
You research on your own thing that you're arguing.
I just didn't like the look of it. Okay. I didn't have to research where it came from.
Okay. Jeff, you might have to take away the point because, if you just don't like the look of it, that's good enough for argument, I guess.
Right. Sorry, Chris. I would have given it to Chris had the shoulder patches not been on on the reverse retro, but they were. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then so that jersey's not that bad.
Yeah, but you can't see the shoulder patches from the stands.
Well, sure
no one's watching from the stands. They're watching from television.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, nobody's watching from the stands except media. Okay, we're moving on to history. Okay, a bit of a different one here, guys.
Yeah,
I went for what is the most interesting event that happened on this day, February 28th, in history. And so basically, you go on Google, you go, what happened on this day, and you pop it in and you figure out what happened. So. I think who are we on? We're on Jaemeel going first. I think first on this one. All right, Jaemeel. Yeah.
I'm going to talk to you. I have to be a little bit serious here. On February 28th.
What year?
Now you want me to... let's say somewhere in 1949.
Okay.
1949. Was the beginning of the White Terror. So what happened is it was triggered on the 27th of February. Taiwanese woman was selling some contraband and was hit over the head. People started to protest, and the KMT started shooting into the crowd, and it kind of kicked off this 38 years of martial law that happened in Taiwan. For its time, it was the longest period of martial law in the world, and a shining example of a regime overstepping its bounds and kind of keeping a population under its boot. At the same time, you see a strong community rising against tyranny and trying to rebel against an opposing force that's overwhelming. And I'll go into my points when we're going into our debate. But White Terror.
Okay, White Terror from Taiwan. Okay, Chris Seymour, what do you got for the most interesting event that happened on this day, February 28th?
Okay, February 28th in 1991, the Gulf War ended. It's very significant in my time because this is, honestly, this is the first real war that I kind of remember. I kind of remember seeing it on TV. I remember when it started. Consequently enough, it didn't start. It started on January the 15th. So this is a war that only lasted for 43 days. It was a time when Iraq and Iran, they were having their own problems. Iraq was having money problems and decided decided they were going to invade Kuwait because Kuwait was demanding money back from them. And what the world decided at that time, maybe like 39 nations decided like on a new world order. You remember those words? There's going to be a new world order. And they decided that if Saddam didn't get out of Kuwait, they were going to go in there and remove those troops by any means necessary. And they did that. They did it very well. 15 days, I think it was 6 weeks. 6 weeks expired. Saddam was given 6 weeks to pull his troops out. And the reason this was interesting is that on February 28th, this war ended. George Bush called a ceasefire, but they did not get into Baghdad. They did not kill Saddam. They did not, because at the time it was looked upon as, okay, we've at least got him out of Iraq. He's pushed back. Sorry, time's up.
Okay, time's up. That's enough Gulf War for now. Jessica, what do you got?
So I didn't realize this is the serious portion of the show. So
it doesn't have to be.
Apologized in advance. So I was looking at the questions phrasing, and it was like, what's the most interesting event that happened? Not the most important event that happened on February 28th.
Exactly.
And my choice is very interesting. So we'll go with that word. My husband discovered this for me. Thank you, Michael. So February 28th, 2000, the writing room for WWAF at the time just thought this would be a great event. Was that 76-year-old Mae Young, who was having an affair, a kayfabe affair with sexual chocolate Mark Henry, the strongest man in the world, did a big splash to help him out in a match, and then went into labor. At 76 years old, and they wheeled her to the back very urgently, and subsequently she gave birth to a hand, like just a plastic hand on television, and everybody thought in the writer's room this is a great idea, and it ended up on TV. I don't know what else to say about that, but it is very interesting that happened.
I was thinking of I
don't even know how you found out about that.
What is big wrestling news, dude?
What do you Google to figure this out?
February 28th. What happened?
What happened?
Yeah,
it could be anything. It didn't need to be the most serious thing.
Mae Young gives birth to
a hand, and at the end of the day, everyone in the room claps and says, "Let's give Mae a hand," and that was the end of the skit.
Guys, I think we all learned something here. We learned that the 1991 Gulf War was like a month long. I didn't even really know about the Taiwan White Terror stuff. I've never studied it. Of course, Mae Young gives birth to a hand. So, I mean, we all learned something.
I know that. I remember that.
I remember that one too. That's the only one I watched live as well.
Jessica, you get the point. We'll see. We'll argue it. Chris, do you have anything to argue towards for the Gulf War?
You know what? I just think it's very interesting that they decided not to kill Saddam. And the reason they didn't do this, because the British Prime Minister at the time, Mr. John Major, was just literally like a year after Margaret Thatcher left. He basically said, like, if we're going in there to stop war crimes, I'm paraphrasing him because I don't know his exact words, but if we're going in there to stop war crimes and we literally go in there and commit more crimes, we're just going to cause chaos. So that's when they decided not to kill Saddam, not to rush into Baghdad. And George Bush just called a ceasefire, and it ended that day. And I think it's very interesting because if they had gone in and killed Saddam, the whole future would have changed, the whole future of the Middle East. And I don't know what I can say, Jessica. I didn't.
You should Google it. You should Google it.
That entire point that if they killed Saddam, the whole future would have changed. If we did anything differently, the whole world would have changed. If Mae Young didn't give birth to a hand, then we don't know what the lasting effect. Mark Henry could have been champion and been where The Rock was. Yeah. We don't know. So saying that something would result in a different history, that revolves around anything and everything. If I didn't take out the garbage like I was supposed to, like I did previously, then who knows what butterfly effect that would have had.
It might not have affected my life so much.
Who says?
As that.
I can't argue against both our significant, important events you brought up, especially the Taiwanese one, especially with what's going on with Taiwan and Chinese relations right now. It's very, very significant, very important part of history. Is it more interesting than a 76-year-old woman giving birth to a gooey hand while smoking a cigar on TV? I don't think so.
Well, I'm just saying,
there's more
100,000 Taiwanese were imprisoned during this period, and over 3,000 to 4,000 were subsequently killed. Not even like protesters, just individuals who might have been in the area were also murdered by the rise of the ruling Chinese mainland KMT party.
Again, very significant and very sad history. I think everyone should learn about, especially to understand what's going on right now in the world and the relations that happen there. But very important, very important, but as interesting as a gooey hand coming out of a woman's vagina on TV. I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think that is interesting at all, because I would never Google gooey hand coming out of vagina. I would never. If I had interest in it, I think I'm going to Google it.
Hold on a second. Sorry, Dave. Can you fact check that? Can you commandeer Chris's Google history to see if those terms have ever? I'll wait.
You came out hard against that. I don't know. Maybe you not protest too much.
I don't know. He looks at other porns, so I don't know.
Chris, can you legitimately say that those terms will not come up in your Google search?
It will not. You know what? It's weird. It comes up in your Google search because sometimes you're typing something in Google and it fills in the rest for you. Even you think I've never looked for that before.
What combination of gooey hand coming out of vagina would it auto correct to? Can you please give me that scenario?
It's also worth noting Mae Young was like 80 years old when this happened.
70. Yeah. And when they asked her during delivery when was her last period, she said 1957. So I guess it was immaculate conception of a hand, which is even more interesting, I think.
Well, sexual chocolate, you know.
Yeah, he just walks into a room and things happen. Can I just say quickly? Also, February 28th, every year, last day of February every year is Rare Disease Day. So it brings recognition to rare diseases. Like my daughter, she has Dup15q syndrome. So it's a really good cause, and you should look it up. And February 28th or February 29th, whichever is the last day of February every year, is Rare Disease Day, and definitely look into it.
I'm cheering not because of the disease, but the recognition of the day.
I got that. Yeah.
And it is the last day of February this year. This is not a leap year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. This point's pretty obvious to me. Jessica's gonna win this point.
Yes.
I agree.
Thank you, Michael.
It wasn't the most important, the most influential, the most butterfly effect. It was the most interesting. You could have picked the birth of of anything, or the death of anybody, or anything.
I have to agree with that.
Okay.
You could have chosen. What?
We are moving on to the wild card round. Okay, this is kind of a cool one. Who do you consider to be the best YouTuber out there currently? All right, Chris Seymour. What do you got?
You know who I chose? I don't know if you guys ever watch his video. Guy named Nat. He's an Australian comedian. He does this YouTube show called Nat's What I Reckon. I've just started watching it in the past year, and it's really fascinating to me because this guy is not your typical guy that you would think of as a chef. He's got long hair, he's got a pierced lip, but ever since the start of the pandemic, he's been inspiring me to cook things. And not that I've ever really wanted to be a great chef in the past, but this guy will make it seem so simple. And it just some of the words that come out of his mouth just make me laugh. Right? He'll be frying some bacon on the stove, for example. And it'll be like, cook the bacon until it's fucking cooked. And it's just little things like that it makes cooking look easy. Like there was a show on about carbonara probably about 2 months ago, where he actually he was saying fuck jar sauce, don't use jar sauce, it's a piece of garbage, and he'd swat it off the table with a baseball bat. And then he'd crack out some eggs and some Parmesan cheese, and legit show you how to make it, all saying kind of funny things at the same time. And his videos are very hilarious. Just watch it and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Except for now. There you go. There, he's making the chicken in this one.
And he's like, all you want to fucking try and do is try and put this fucking thing in here. That's how he talks.
He kind of talks like that, but his recipes are sincere and they're actually decent. And you can really learn something.
Okay, there he is.
How do I bring you guys back?
Sincere recipes.
Well, like he's a comedian, but he doesn't make funny recipes. He actually makes good food while being funny while doing it.
Chris, have you tasted his food?
I've made his food. So I've not tasted food that he's actually made, but I've copied his recipes and tried it. And they're delicious.
Good
I
rebuttal.
actually did make the chicken, and I made the carbonara one day.
Good rebuttal. I will give you points for that.
Okay. I think time's up. We'll move over to Jessica. Jessica, you pick somebody that I actually watch his channel. So can you tell us who you picked?
My YouTuber of choice is Stephen Andrew Thomas, or Steve 1989 MRE Info. He's a landscaper from Florida, I think. And what he does is he acquires and opens and sometimes eats like MREs from currently, but also the past and the long past. He's just great to listen to. I don't really know, like, he's very calming. Some people call him like the Bob Ross of like MREs. It's very zen to watch him. He's also just he's really interesting. He's got catchphrases. Let's get this out onto a tray. Nice hiss. And you just get to see kind of history living on screen, which is fascinating. Like, I mean, you see history in a museum, but how often do you get to see it like opened and sampled? He's eaten hardtack from the Civil War, candies from an emergency pilot's ration, like really interesting stuff he probably shouldn't eat. I'm surprised he's not dead yet. He often apologizes for opening something like moldy ham from the Vietnam War, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not going to eat that." like we expected him to, but sometimes he really shouldn't, and he still eats it anyway. And then he goes, "Oh yeah, that's bad. That's terrible. Let me have another bite just to test how bad that is." It's a fascinating experience. You wouldn't think you would enjoy 20 minutes of a guy opening a really, really old MRE ration, but it is very enjoyable.
Yeah, like I watched one where he opened one from World War One, and he was like cooking it up, and he's like, and he had some chocolate, and he was like, "Chocolate's still pretty good." He's like, no. It's like 100 years old, over 100 years old,
and he smokes the cigarettes from the ration packs too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's an interesting cat for sure. Jaemeel, who did you pick for you? Who do you think is the best YouTuber currently?
I picked the collective referred to as CDZA, which is the short for Collective Cadenza. It is a group of classically trained musicians who have come together to promote music, connect pulp culture to classical music and music theory. They raise money for local schools and trying to promote the music in general. They create music videos that are they feature music in various ways in terms of like
right. Like I'm watching one here, Jaemeel, where they did the history of wooing men.
Yes. So they would show like music history and kind of have fun with it. So like as you point out, the history of wooing men, the history of wooing women, and you can see the changes in terms of the styles and also the vulgarity that has changed in recent times. In addition, you'll have like they'll do fun things like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song, but translated into different languages and then translated back into English, and how translation programs don't necessarily give an accurate statement that makes sense. And they did it like a million times, where they like went through every single language and then went back to English and see how that went. They do live performances where they will have tip jars and they will play music based upon what people put money into. I'll go on when we get into the debating portion about it.
Okay, I think you guys can debate now. Why?
Well, I don't know about Jessica's. Why would I want to watch some guy eat disgusting stuff? That's like eating a hot wing contest. I don't want to see people eat hot wings. I don't want to see.
It's not disgusting. It's living. It's history.
Jessica, because people do like to watch that stuff.
Oh yeah, I watch it. It's
you don't want you can search my Google history wings. Again if you want to search.
Hot Wings is one of the highest touted series on YouTube. So.
It's not just gross stuff. It's also the packaging. Like you get to see what like a pilot in World War II is given as an emergency ration, like or just like what people were eating during the wars or during like wartimes. It's
very important, Jessica, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes. Just like mine, which talks about the history of music and various instruments as well.
But I would argue yours is a YouTubers as a collective group. And the question is, who do you consider to be the best YouTuber? Singular. And my guy is a singular channel and he runs it by himself with no help, whereas yours is a collective, plural.
Well, a collective.
I think you're.
But YouTuber, they don't have multiple channels. It's one channel.
But it doesn't say YouTube channel. It says YouTuber, singular.
YouTuber.
Just
did not get any feedback from the host that my answer was invalid. So CDA said as a collective is, to my knowledge, is valid. So
you can pick that. I don't care. It's the channel. You pick the channel.
I'm just saying.
Thank you. That point is moot. Chris, anything against my channel?
I haven't watched it, but it sounds like it could get repetitive. And I don't know why do your YouTubers need tip jars? Like why can't they be good enough to make money off?
That's what Patreon is, though, dude.
The reason for that is it wasn't for them because they are not a for-profit organization. They're an organization that raises money for at-risk use for music programs in the New York area. So that tip jar is one promoting music, because they get to see which one people are willing to spend more money on to perform. They literally have a setup in the streets of New York where a bass player and a violinist will play whatever you put money into. So there was Michael Jackson, there was Bach, there was also Jurassic Park, right, as well. And people put more money into Bach than anything else. Right.
Well, classical musicians. Do you want to see a classical musician play Michael Jackson? No. You want to see him play Bach. You want to see him play Bach.
It's awesome.
I like the guy who wanted to see an entire cover band of another band is arguing against a classical musician playing modern songs.
Isn't like this classical music channel kind of the same thing as that like thing you watch, Dave, the postmodern jukebox?
Yeah.
Very interesting point. Yes. Alan, who's part of the collective, joined Scott Bradley and the Postmodern Jukebox. I met them in person when they did their first tour in Toronto, and I specifically said the reason why I connected with Postmodern Jukebox was because of Alan, the drummer. Thank you. Great point. Thank you.
That drummer like stares into your soul in every video. He's really good.
My show is the only one that you can actually watch and gain something out of it. It's actually useful.
History.
There's
Jessica and be like, maybe I shouldn't eat something from
World War II. No, knowledge is something gained. You can't disagree with knowledge. Any knowledge you gain. And I would argue, I don't know about your chef guy, but I would just say that I don't like anyone who shames people for using pre-done ingredients. Like, people don't have time sometimes. Like, if you're saying, don't use jar sauce, it's garbage. You know what? Like, some people, like moms like me, we don't have time. We don't have time.
You can do it in the same.
Yeah, but there's a way to teach without. There's a way to teach without shaming, absolutely. Is what I'm saying.
I haven't did a point against your group. I think that although it is interesting, I think that the format is better suited for television, like the History Channel. Whereas mine in bite-sized pieces are more digestible, and you get their fun, you get your knowledge, and you're able to walk away.
Oh, mine is amazing for YouTube. Sometimes it's a 5-minute show. Sometimes it's 10 minutes.
There's a lot of content like that, though. There's a lot of you can get a lot of chefs and stuff and that are funny and interesting and stuff. And my guy's really interesting, and there's stuff you'd never see anywhere else. It's just, and it's very zen. You don't even need to be into military history to enjoy it. I'm not into military history. I hate war movies personally. I never watch them, but I find this stuff really fascinating because it's the presentation. He is a very soothing. It's a soothing experience to watch. It's great to watch before bed. I just it's really fun. I would say that Jameel's channel sounds really interesting. I'm going to check it out, but I would say it's probably not something that I would like. I'm not into that all the time, and some people it's a interest that I guess is not everybody would be interested in learning. Whereas I think mine would be entertaining for everybody, even if you're not interested in it.
I think
which channel has the most subscribers?
Oh.
You know what? I didn't go by that. Can you tell us, Jeff? Have you looked into this?
I looked it up. I already looked it up. Actually, the answer is Jessica's channel has the most subscribers, and by a lot. She has one
subscribers
right now.
I'm just saying she has a 1.8 million subscribers for her argument. CDZA only had 279,000. And what I reckon only has 330,000. So actually, CDZA or whatever is actually the lowest. But that doesn't mean they have
influence is not felt because they have been in Entertainment Weekly, on CNN. Google has specifically used them for various events due to their talents. The group, the collective, goes around the world and tours and promotes their same aspects. So even though the YouTube channel currently isn't active, their influence is still ongoing.
No one has more views of a video though than your channel, Jaemeel. So that is also true. So the people don't want to subscribe to your channel, but they want to watch it over and over and over.
Because you're currently not active.
That's because some people aren't in the mood to learn. Like sometimes, you have the Fresh Prince one. I think is people are funny and it's entertaining, but the other stuff about music theory, it does require some form of active learning, which I think not everybody's always in the mood for. I'm not. Whereas my channel is history based, but you don't. It's kind of passive learning. You don't actually have to engage your brain watching it.
Can be entertaining and can teach you things at the same time.
But also somewhat shamey. Just a little bit shamey, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
Basically, your example that he shames people for using pre-made jarred items.
Okay. I'm ready to make my decision. I'm going to give this one to Jaemeel. I think he argued the best for his channel.
Bye, guys.
I was trying, Chris, man. You gotta argue harder. You gotta come back at them. You gotta say, no, you're wrong. This guy's awesome.
So, Chris, I was trying to cut you from the legs. I looked at the score and I'm like, I have to make sure Chris can't make any foot.
We got a 3-3 here. We're going into the speed round.
Oh no! Oh.
All my notes are good.
Time for the speed.
So we are running we are running somewhat behind. Not that we have anywhere to go, I guess, but it's just so we're gonna do 30 seconds for opening arguments each on the speed round, and then Jeff, if you can try to make a decision within a minute or so.
Okay, I'll try and do that.
Okay. It goes really quickly.
I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna fail so hard.
Chris off screen, but he can still be heard.
Not the best way to have Chris.
Can we get out of the vertical land?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Okay, so all right, so kind of works the same here, Jessica. So basically, ask a question. You whoever answers first gets that answer, but it gives you a couple seconds to kind of come up with a rebuttal answer. Whoever answered first has to kind of argue for 30 seconds. Then the other person goes, and then I'll make a decision. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, I guess so.
Okay, so movies. Who is the worst Star Trek villain in a movie?
Oh my god.
There's a lot of choices.
If only you knew anything about Star Trek.
What's his name?
Shoot, I don't know.
All right, pick the movie. You can pick, I'll tell you the guy's name.
Star Trek Nemesis.
Okay, so Insurrection. So we got Ruafu versus Shinzon.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's who?
Jessica picked Shinzon and Jaemeel picked Ruafu. Can we get a Ruafu sound drop at some point?
Yes, we can. I just have to find it. One moment.
God, which one was Insurrection?
Insurrection. That one's Insurrection. That's Ruafu.
Murray Abramson.
Where it's the plot, the plague, and the.
Is that the one where they get younger?
Skin graft, yeah.
Okay, that guy I remember being kind of funny. Like he had like a funny villain thing going. Whereas I don't even remember the guy from Star Trek Nemesis. I just remember that movie was garbage.
It's Tom Hardy pretending to be Jean-Luc Picard.
What's that? Yeah, that was the one with Data gets offed, right? Yeah, that movie was just really bad. It's like as a whole. So I can't imagine his performance was any good. I don't remember it, but it was probably bad.
Who's first, Jeff?
Jessica actually was supposed to be going first, so she's, you can finish it in the next 20 seconds or something.
Oh yeah, that was my argument. I think it was a forgettable movie. The plot was horrible. I do vaguely remember his like really weird like plasticky Picard look. I don't really remember I just remember that all around it was like a really bad film, and it was such a sad end to the TNG like film franchise. I was super disappointed. So I'm collectively as a whole, that movie was disappointing to me. So I imagine the villain performance was also. Don't remember.
Okay, Jaemeel, Ruafu, the great Ruafu.
Ruafu was, as Jessica pointed out, was there and had comic relief. There was no sense that he was an actual threat at all, whereas Tom Hardy's Shinzo at least had a menacing attitude and feeling and was presented as a threat. So he was more of a villain. He had a connection to the characters of the movie, especially Jean-Luc Picard, because of his clone, whereas the other dude was just some random dude that they just had to beat, and it was a lame movie.
Okay.
Any questions, Jeff?
No, I'm going to give that one to Jaemeel. I think Jaemeel came a little bit harder with why Ruafu kind of sucked.
Like, I literally can't think of a single thing of him except how he looked.
With the pulled back skin, right? That was him, right? Yeah, I remember that.
The whole thing. Okay, TV. What is the best animated TV show of all time? You got to pick quick. Well, you don't have to, but...
It's like, hurry up because of the time.
Oh, Steven Universe. That's my choice. Okay.
I'll take Cowboy Bebop.
Wow. Okay. Not what I expected at all. Jessica, go ahead.
Steven Universe is just like a lovely show. I just think it's very sweet. It's really great for kids. It has a lot of messaging in it, but like not beat you over the head messaging. Like it's not like after school specially in any way. It has really good unique for a animated feature like show. I feel like it actually progresses. It moves forward. Like they don't keep their characters stuck in one point in time forever and ever and ever, ever. They actually move forward. They grow each and every season, and it's just a lovely show and really sweet, and one I'd hope to share with my kids someday.
All right, Jaemeel.
Cowboy Bebop is the standard at which an entire genre of animated shows have to live up to, from its animation, its voice acting, both in English and in Japanese, its music, and it's also very tight narrative that has a finite beginning and a finite end. Steven Universe is only for one kind of demographic.
No, Cowboy Bebop isn't. Come on. That is such a niche market. Come on. Steven Universe should be for everybody. If it's a niche market, that is a society problem and not a Steven Universe problem. I think it should be enjoyed by everyone. And the music is also excellent on Steven Universe. The soundtrack is great. I listen to it on my Spotify playlist. Like there's really beautiful music. And it has a message. It has a point. Like it really is. It can be for all ages. I enjoyed it as an adult. I think kids enjoy it. They feel seen through the show. It's a beautiful show. And it's great. It's very enjoyable while also having a very teachable moments, and it's a very sweet show with great progress.
I feel that Steven Universe messaging is presented more important than the actual narrative, whereas Cowboy Bebop is more focused on its narrative. I also listen to Cowboy Bebop's music. It is universally put in well regard and performed throughout the world in various concerts. Covered by a multitude of other musicians as well. I feel that the narrative is the ultimate thing that's more important. regardless of what the messaging may be.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Jessica on this one.
I would too. I'm arguing against things that I believe.
Right. Kind of like you did with the Red Wings jersey, right?
I would never buy that jersey.
I would buy this jersey. I was like, you would? It's got no red.
It's a practice
jersey.
Red
Wings.
That's a
the
practice
Red Wings
jersey.
Should have red.
Okay, moving on to it's a 4-4 tie. We're moving on to music. Okay, so for listening to music, which vinyl or digital? Which is better?
Vinyl.
Okay, you got to argue digital there, but Jaemeel has to go first, Jessica.
Yeah.
Vinyl is the ultimate presentation of music. Not only does it present the music as something that needs to be cherished in a physical way, you will consistently own the rights to that physical item. It also presents the liner notes, the actual presentation of what the band wants to display and to merge with its music to its listener.
I would argue digital is better for accessibility. I mean, not everybody has the money or the time to collect vinyl. Something you like might not be available on vinyl. You might not be able to afford a record setup. They're not cheap. Digital is accessible to everyone. And even if you can't afford to buy it legally, you can find it somewhere online. And that's, I mean, as you argued in your previous thing about that music channel, music is something that everyone should enjoy. I mean, music theory, it's all very important. And I think everyone should have access to it. And that's what digital provides people is access. And that's the most important thing.
Having access to digital music is also a difficulty as well, whereas one could buy a $30 turntable to play a vinyl record. To be able to listen to a digital audio file, they either need a computer, a phone, an MP3 player, and those range from anywhere from $50 to a computer itself, which is $1,000, plus the headphones as well.
You could access a lot of digital music through the library for free. Overdrive has, I think, music available that you can get. So, and you could go to the library to listen to it. So there are options to get it for free. Just listening to it in the library, listening to it. Yeah, so you can get access to digital music without paying anything for it, really, if you have access to a library, which most people hopefully do.
Okay, I'm going to go with Jessica on this one. I didn't think I was going to.
Library.
You know, I got a vinyl record player right back here. And
I also do have vinyl, and I very much enjoy collecting it. So it's a hard position.
But I agree with the accessibility because every time I buy a record, I go, well, I better really want this record. You know, like because you know, I'm not going to buy a record I don't want to listen to. You know,
I feel that a lot of people.
Okay, Dave's ringing the bell. He's getting over.
Sorry, I thought you were.
Oh my God!
Which baseball team has the best hat?
New York Yankees.
I'm just gonna say the Blue Jays because that's the only one that I know.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Jaemeel, why the Yanks?
New York Yankees is universally known. It is a classic symbol that even represents New York and America itself. It's greater than just the brand of the team. It ties in the fact that it is America's team, the New York Yankees. It's simple. It automatically pops. It's automatically recognizable, and it's universally known and loved.
Okay, Jessica, why the Blue Jays?
Blue Jays, it's a fun hat. It's like I own quite a few. My husband owns actually quite a few, and I just steal them. But they're like the blue and white, the Blue Jay on the front. It's colorful. It's fun to wear, even if you're not a fan. It's mostly kind of stayed the same. I guess they had, I don't know, they go back and forth between the new and the modern one, but both of them are pretty good. I just think it's a fun hat. It's good to wear. I would wear it even if I'm not a fan. And doesn't everybody hate the Yankees? Is that not a thing?
That is a thing. But except Yankee fans.
Okay.
The interesting fact about people hating the Yankees, there are people that hate the Yankees. There's also people that also love the Yankees, and its influence and the care for is worldwide. You can go to another country and see people wearing a New York Yankee hat. You won't go to, let's say, some random European city and see someone wearing a Blue Jays hat.
You might.
If there's a Canadian there.
Well, there's a connection there because I think I've seen people when I was traveling wearing Blue Jays hats, and I got really excited. Actually, you know what? Oh, never mind. That's not a hat story. That's a T-shirt story. Well, never mind. Yeah, but you get a connection with someone if you see a fellow Canadian or a fellow fan wearing. It strikes up it's a conversation starter, whereas you wouldn't necessarily strike up a conversation with someone wearing a Yankees hat because, they're everywhere. So, my hat brings a connection. Canadian connection.
Jaemeel, you have a counter for the connection argument?
If I saw someone in Africa wearing a Yankees hat, I would at least automatically have a conversational starter. They would know at least something about the Yankees. That's how much they're well regarded and loved. And even if they're hated, they're recognized, and it's a conversational starter as well. People will be able to say something about Jeter or Rivera. I don't think anyone would know a Blue Jays player.
Well, they would know our 90s Blue Jays for sure. And our team is like the underdog team, which is kind of more fun to root for than the Yankees. So that's my argument against that.
Okay. This is a tough one, guys. You guys made this one tough on me. I'm going to go with the Yankees on this one. I think the Yankees hat. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more uniform aesthetic arguments. Jessica did hit that a bit, but the overall Yankee hat is the iconic baseball hat. So, good pick.
Going to the wire, Jessica.
Fair.
What? All right. So, what are we on here? Is this
history? Here we go.
History. What I picked. Oh, history. With March around the corner, pick one influential historical event that happened in March in your lifetime. I know it's a hard. This one is not an easy question.
Go to Facebook and go your past history.
No. Like in your life, something that happened in March, anywhere in the world, anywhere in time, anywhere. You can pick anything. You're like the second Iraq War happened in March, in 2003.
March 2020, pandemic lockdown in Canada started.
Good pick. Yes, that's what I was kind of going with as well.
Go ahead, argument. I have to think about it.
I'm so glad I got to that first. Thank God. I have nothing.
I was born in '83 of March 19.
There you go.
That was pretty significant.
That was another one.
My daughter is also born March 6th. But...
So that's pretty important.
Oh, fellow Pisces.
Yeah.
You got to debate it. You got 20 seconds.
Oh, am I? Okay. I'm supposed to go without Jaemeel picking?
Yeah. You should.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Time.
Yeah, I think this is a recent event, but it's definitely historic. I think people will remember. I mean, I certainly remember like my daughter's birthday party was kind of like the last big event where I saw my friends, and then after that, like I think mid or end of March, lockdown happened, and we're still in it now. And I think it's something that people will remember for like decades to come. It's such an imposition on our life. It's changed basically our whole worldview, basically, and how we see things, and it will continue to do so. I think for a long time.
Okay, Jaemeel, have you thought of one?
Yeah, March is a terrible one for me. Celebrated my mom's birthday. I like my mom a lot. She's awesome. Right. She likes me too. She gave birth to me, not in March in my lifetime.
Right.
But that was later on. But
that was your lifetime when you were born.
She was pregnant with me during March during her birthday. She's a good person. I'm pretty sure she would like you, Jeff, and also Jessica. She is a teacher, and she works with special needs, individuals. So that means she's a good person, and she gave birth to me. So double points for that. That's my argument.
All right, rebuttal.
I'm just gonna give it to Jaemeel. I don't care.
I'm not gonna rebut that. March. I didn't know that was an option, or it would have picked my daughter. But good job, Jaemeel.
Could have been mom versus daughter. could have been a hard battle.
It said historical, which is relevant to my history, but I guess
not an
I was
easy
thinking
question.
global. But
I was trying to relate it to the first question.
Happy early birthday to your mom, Jaemeel.
I will pass it along.
March is coming up. It's almost the end of February.
And happy early birthday to my daughter, because she's.
It is not almost. It is the end of February.
Well, not 12 more hours, Dave. Okay, wild card. Okay, this is the last question. What is the most artistic album cover?
Artistic.
Oh no.
We lost Chris. I would
Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay, good pick.
Nirvana Baby one.
Never mind.
Never mind. Yeah, you could have waited until I did my statement.
What did you just say? Sorry, just so I know.
Never mind by Nirvana.
Never mind by Nirvana.
Okay. So Dark Side of the Moon is a classical, very influential album cover. It features Chris is there. Don't put Chris on the screen.
Chris is back.
It features light going into a prism that creates a rainbow. You can put him there. I'm just joking.
No, it's okay. I just
it's there to signify to signify the artistic's presentation of self into the prism, and the music presents a variety of different colors, different songs that is being presented in the album.
Okay, Jessica, why is Nevermind the most artistic album cover?
It's memorable. It's iconic, I guess. The baby in the water chasing the dollar bill. Like, I think everyone's seen it, or everyone would recognize it. It's unusual. It's an unusual choice for a grunge album. I have a swimming baby. So definitely a unique choice, I would guess. And yeah, just very memorable. I remember it. I don't really remember very many album covers. That one I do.
Okay. Jaemeel? Anything else? Or
memorable doesn't necessarily indicate artistic merit. I find that Dark Side of the Moon album cover does.
Okay, I think I have to do this one to Jaemeel, and Jaemeel is our winner.
Yay!
Done it again. He's back.
Nevermind was better because you could have said that the baby was reaching for the money from the womb.
I honestly don't know much. I know Nirvana songs, but I couldn't think of one that would relate to what the cover was supposed to be. So
the moment you said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a better answer.
Okay, Chris, what would you have picked for the most artistic album cover?
Primus.
No, I would put for Destruction, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Come on, cross with the
what I said about Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd was a good album cover. I mean, Prism with rainbows going through it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very 70s.
Yeah. I hope that's what the artistic meaning was. I just assumed.
At least you had something. I couldn't. I was like, artistic about a baby chasing money. I guess, I don't know, capitalism, something. I don't know.
We need Jameel's victory music.
Jody, you're on the single play. How did you assume that? Yeah, there you go.
All right. Congratulations, Jaemeel. Welcome to Trivial Debates.
That was very tough. Very tough.
We will be having our 50th episode next month, the end of March. I have no idea who's hosting. It won't be me because I did this one. But
if there's any volunteers, let me know.
Jessica host. Jessica host.
No.
We'll talk offline.
You were great.
Oh,
Has Chris ever?
It was fun.
yeah, it was fun. It was good. All right, so I think that's it for all of us here at Trivial Debates.
Plug our other stuff.
We need to plug our other stuff for all of us here at Trivial Debates. We have lots of things going on Live Long and Podcast. We also have lots of things going on Super Mater Bros Podcasting. Jaemeel and Dave are covering Big Brother Canada over on Live Long and Podcast. We have Deep Space Nine recaps, original series recaps. You got the Deep Space Nine on Tuesday. You got the original series on Wednesday. we're covering all sorts of different things. We got Star Trek Radio Theater. We just did an episode last night. Go check that out. We did a Voyager episode, Timeless. That was fun. We had a new cast member. Oh, Living Witness. Oh no, there is an episode though called Timeless.
Yeah, but we haven't done it.
No, that's true. Okay. But I always mix those episodes up.
Don't forget Dave's appearance on Diary of Doom.
What's
Defenders
that?
of the Cake.
Oh, sorry, Defenders of the Cake. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Podcast too. This past week.
So. Jessica, what podcast are you on?
I have a Buffy podcast called Slayer Talk that I am on currently. We're rewatching Buffy from season 1. We just did a recap of season 1, and we're about to do the unaired pilot and the Buffy movie, the 1992 Buffy movie. Is our next episode. So.
You should talk to Jane about that. She's a big Buffy fan.
She'd come on the show.
Joss Whedon all the way.
Yeah, it's an awkward time to have a Buffy podcast, unfortunately, but whatever. The show still is good, even if the creator is,
doing his thing. Okay, so that's it. Let's break it down with some Funktown music, and we'll see you next time in a month from now for the 50th episode of Trivial Debate.